Hi, let's imagine this for a moment. You are out, you got bored a little, you have your tiny, affordable mini synth with you for some reason. Suddenly, you are not bored anymore. You can jam with it, you can make cinematic synthwave or something. But oh no, it sounds dry as a sneeze in space. I obviously don't know how it sounds, but I imagine it sounds really dry. And you think to yourself, oh man, I wish I had some FX processor with me. Well, good news, it's your phone. And you don't need more than a few cables, a couple apps, and a little patience. Let me show you how to survive this extremely unlikely scenario. Ferro Mini will help me demonstrate it today. This is a USB-powered tiny synth with only a single effect on board, which is delay, and sadly it doesn't have USB audio. But hey, it's affordable and it sounds good with a little bit of effects. First, you need a host app that can run effects. I have an iPhone with me, which is a USB-C port. If you have an older iPhone with Lightning port, it's a little bit more complicated. You need to have a Lightning to USB-C adapter, then it's kind of possible. If you have an Android phone, it's a little bit more complicated than that, unfortunately, due to the way Android handles audio and because of the limited apps available. It's not impossible, but today I'm gonna show you the iPhone way. Of course, it could have been an iPad, but today we are going for the smallest. For the AUV3 host app, I will use Audiobus today, but you can use most AUV3 host apps that lets you route audio. You can use AUM, you can use Loopy Pro. Today we have Audiobus. Just a note, not every host app will work the same way. There might be some other workarounds and settings that you need to do. And in some cases, despite being an AUV3 compatible app or a host app, some apps won't just route your audio. This is something you need to experiment. But first, try it with the app you already have. For the effects app, I will go with Mighty Sampler. It's a sample-based synth app. For the effects app, I will go with Mighty Sampler, which is a free sample-based synth app, and I think this is an oversimplification of it, but it comes with a really good selection of effects that you can load separately as AUV3 add-on into any host. On the hardware side, I will need a USB-C DAC adapter, which looks something like this. This device converts the digital signal into analog or the other way around. You can consider as the simplest, cheapest audio interface that we can use in this context. Obviously, it's not an audio interface, but it will function as one. You need to make sure that this is TRRS or simply it is compatible with mic headsets. Then I will need a splitter to separate the output and input into headphone and mic. You know the adapter that sometimes even comes bundled with computer headsets, that thing. Finally, a 3.5mm TRS aux cable, the basic one. Let's do a quick count. The AC was 11 euros, the splitter is 5 euros, and the aux cable is 4 euros. For the grand total of 20 euros, we're gonna be able to add some effects to our effectless synthesizer. Now all I need to do is to connect all this together and route the audio through Audiobus. When you connect it for the first time, your iPhone might ask you whether this is a headphone or other device, and depending on your answer, your audio signal will be treated differently. But if you have a host already, it's not gonna pop up. Let's power the synth as well. Synth output needs to go to the mic input. Let's get this out of the way. Now let's go to input, and on the input, system, KT USB audio. In your case, the name might be different depending on the device you use. Now you can see that I have an input here, and for the output, I need to go to system again, KT USB audio 1 and 2. Now let's do a test if it's gonna work at all. You can hear that it's very dry, right? So you add your input and your output. Both are going through the same device, and actually the splitter is doing the heavy lifting here. Looking at it as it is, it's actually quite easy to understand. We have an input on the left side, goes through this empty space that we will add our effects, and then we have an output shown as a speaker on the right hand side. We can add whatever we want in this space. And if the cabling is not really clear, let me explain. All the output and input is going through this DAC adapter, and we have a microphone and headphone splitter here, which will have our synth as a microphone input on the mic side, and your headphone goes into the headphone side. Software side is ready, hardware side is ready. Only thing we need to do is to add some effects. Let's bring in mighty effects. We can dial in some reverb first, some chorus maybe. I'm just adding things randomly, not to make a good sound, but just to show you how much you can do with it. Let's go all in on the reverb. The way I apply the effects might be a little questionable, but again, for the demonstration, maybe at least we can agree that it's a really flexible and powerful configuration, considering the amount of things that you need to carry and the amount of money that you need to spend on. And some of these things might be already in your drawer anyway. You might have some questions, of course, like why do we use this instead of a proper audio interface and the laptop with the proper DAW? Well, don't use this. If you have all that, if you have anything like that, there's no need to use this other than the situation that you really need to have something portable. This is all for when you don't have stuff like that. And any downsides? Yes, of course, a few. Audio from your synth will be mono. There's no way around that with a setup like this. If you had any stereo sound coming from your synth, forget about that. All will be squeezed down to a mono signal. But if you really want to, you can add another AUV3 down the line to make it stereo and add some width. Also, you will need to disable all the monitoring for your input, and depending on the app you use, you might not be able to easily control the drive-at mix. In this case, it's totally fine. Also, the signal might be very hot from your headphone output into your mic input because it's going to be considered as a microscopic microphone, so the signal will be boosted. The splitter that you use in between doesn't know that you plug a synth to it, so you need to bring down the volume quite a bit first and then increase it as you go or boost it in the app that you use. And it's really not easy to monitor and see if you're clipping or not, but it's manageable. By the way, there are two ways to improve this setup, obviously with additional cost. If you have something like the EP136 KO Sidekick, which is a battery-powered mixer and audio interface with multiple stereo inputs and outputs, it adds up a lot to a setup like that. The second one is on the software side. Loopy Pro is insanely capable. It's basically most of the functionality that you can get from Audiobus or AUM with some additional functions on top, like looping, first of all. But also you can create macros, buttons, and sliders on the screen. So you can control most of your FX parameters on the screen with the sliders and everything that you set up in a more performative way. Then again, Sidekick and Loopy Pro combined will probably cost you around 200 euros as opposed to 20 euros that we have with the stuff that you might already have in your drawer. It's 10 times the cost. So it's up to you to decide whether you want to spend that money or not. Please let me know if you're interested to learn about that setup, how I use my Sidekick with Loopy Pro in a setup like this. I can make another video to show how I run my hardware into Loopy Pro using Sidekick. Let me know if you're interested. Until then, if you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, please drop them in the comments and I will answer each and every one of you. As always, thank you for watching and take care. See you on the next one. Bye.